This is a podcast from BFM 89.9, the business station.
Open for Business on BFM 89.9.
It is BFM 89.9. Good morning and welcome to Open for Business, the show that dives into the journeys and ventures of entrepreneurs and business leaders. I'm Roshan Kanasan, and this morning on the show, I'm joined by Jeevan Muniandy, co-founder of BidMyAsset, a Malaysian-based auction platform for second-hand industrial and manufacturing machinery and equipment. Now, BidMyAsset may have been founded in 2022, but its roots go back to 2005 through its parent company, Koshi Auctioneers. The platform helps businesses buy and sell industrial equipment as well as dispose of movable assets like machinery, equipment, and industrial surplus, with the company saying it has facilitated transactions across Southeast Asia and has helped brands such as Anju Berhad as well as the Panasonic appliance. Today, we will explore BidMyAsset's approach to asset management and disposal, as well as why Jeevan embarked on this journey, both the rebranding in 2022 as well as the initial journey back in 2005. We'll talk about the company's ambitions ahead, as well as how it will achieve its carbon emissions reduction target of 200,000 metric tons by 2030. Of course, we'll get a sense of the evolution of the business and brand, as well as what it looked like in the early days. If you have any thoughts or questions, you can WhatsApp us on our U-Mobile number. That's 018-789-8899. Jeevan, welcome to the show.
Hi, Roshan. Thank you very much for inviting me for this.
So this is a particularly interesting story here, Jeevan. I'm looking forward to kind of getting into this with you. But before we get into the story, just let's clear up the business model at play here. Now, among other things, as I mentioned earlier, you provide a platform, an end-to-end platform for business owners to buy and sell industrial equipment and machinery. Give us a sense of how all this works.
The basic idea is actually to help asset acquisition by industrialists who planning to expand or extend their production facility. The issue comes in, where do I find? And at the same time, when you look at the sellers who the machines lying idle, if you look at them, they have an issue of selling the assets to somebody who can appreciate the whole thing. But there's a big gap. How do you identify those assets and who can actually buy? So what we do now, basically we help clients end to end. We help sellers to find the right buyer, at the same time to manage the whole selling process by even identifying the assets. There's an issue. Whenever sellers wanted to sell, they don't have proper information about the asset. And the buyers, they want to buy the assets, they want full information. And there's a gap. And that's where we came in and we thought, okay, look, let's fill the gap. Let's go and understand, bring in the right engineers, identify the assets, and that's how we embark on it.
So ultimately, the problem that this is trying to solve here, it sounds like there are some manufacturers or industrialists who have machines that they don't want anymore for a variety of reasons. Maybe they've expensed it out completely. Maybe they don't need to use it. Maybe they're leaving the country, as we've seen some companies do in recent months. And on the other side, we have companies that want to expand their production lines. Maybe they need more machinery, and maybe they don't have the budget for brand new machinery, and they want to see what else they can get. So secondhand may be an option there. You're here to bridge that gap between those two sides of the equation, correct?
Yes, exactly. So the idea is being competitive. Okay, let's look at two perspectives. Client who wants to sell the assets, they want to reinvest. When they want to reinvest, we are talking about money. If you can't sell the assets which is available in your hand at a good value, your reinvestment cost is higher. So that means you might delay. You need government support. All these are challenges. What we are doing now, we are making sure that both parties, which is the seller and the buyer, to be competitive. That means the seller managed to sell higher, reinvestment costs lower. The investors, whoever wants to buy the second-hand machines, they can also be competitive because they won't be looking for new machines because they manage to get something which is enough for them to start immediately. So sometimes time is an essence, and you can't wait for you to get the funding before you can start a business. So it is how fast you go in and tap on the opportunities.
Right. There's also a math equation, I think, as you highlighted. So even if you wanted to stay in country, but you want new equipment, you may not have the space to keep the old equipment as well. So maybe you want to monetize that in the best way possible. And this is something that your platform provides. So aside from facilitating the transaction of the buy and sell and connecting the two parties, what else does your platform do? I mean, because I think we offline we were talking about how it's end-to-end. Talk to us about the end-to-end here.
Okay. What we basically help them, it is not in terms of the value. We are talking about the time management. We are talking about the expertise that they have. What the sellers always look at is that, going back to their procurement department, saying that, hey, procurement, I have these assets, get rid of it. Procurement, their job is to actually source for raw materials, source for items for production. It's not for them to sell. So selling comes 10 years once, 20 years once, and usually what they do is that they try to call somebody, maybe the vendor who actually supplied the machine, or maybe anyone that involved in recycling business, calling them in, hey, look, I have this, give me 3 quotes, go back to them. So we cannot, I would say, press much on the procurement department guys, because they don't have that expertise. Pity them. So we trying to come in and telling the companies, look, don't worry, we are your extended version of your procurement. We know where to sell. We know who appreciate your assets and what are the information required. So we go zoom into the assets, understand. We are in fact working with Sirim at the moment on a project basis, and we bring them in to audit the machine if it is required by our client, and we come up with a report. So basically understanding the assets, what we call profile, and also provide it to our buyer. And the buyer will appreciate better, because now I know this machine, what are the repairs required, if it is required, or whether it is up and running if I buy it from them. So these are the information that is missing for the buyer and missing from the seller side for the buyer. So I think this is where we are bridging the gap, Roshan.
So in a lot of ways, this is a B2B marketplace. I think this one particular point, but obviously you have other solutions, other things that you provide along the way. Now, the question when you do talk about B2B and big ticket items like machinery, equipment, what's the frequency like, right? Because, when we look at marketplaces like our Lazadas and Shoppees, it's consumer goods. Things move very fast. It's very active. But when you start talking about these big ticket items, it's demand and supply. It's more niche, more specialized. Talk to us about the activity in this kind of market.
The idea of these kind of items to be marketed, if you are looking at local market or local buyer to come in, I don't think so. It's a good idea. As you mentioned just now, Lazada, Shopee, those kind of items, B2C. B2C, basically people don't even view, people don't even want to feel the item. They just look from the online, they just, okay, I buy 10 ringgit, 20 ringgit, I don't mind buying it. But this kind of assets, there's a lot of challenges that we need to go through. First of all, we need to identify the assets' appreciation value outside Malaysia. So this is our one of the way that we are looking at.
So it's not confined to buying and selling within Malaysia?
No. In fact, we set up BidMyAsset Thailand last year, and it is moving forward very nicely. And in fact, we just concluded one of the largest transaction in Thailand with Bridgestone, if I can mention here. Bridgestone Thailand closed down, and what happened was that we managed to bring a buyer from China to actually buy the assets and use it in Vietnam.
Interesting. Now this becomes a more interesting proposition altogether, right? Once you start seeing that it's a bit more borderless, because now your market is much bigger. My initial concern was you're only selling between Malaysian companies. It's a bit difficult, right? Especially because we're demand and supply. On the supply side, we've seen factories in recent months and even recent years close down, right? The folks who've been here, the Japanese companies who've been here for decades. Now there's a lot of, it may seem like there's a lot of surplus of this equipment. Who is it going to? Do you have any insight in terms of, these factories that we're seeing closing down, who's buying this equipment? And, is there a, let's start with who's buying this equipment here. Is it local buyers, foreign buyers?
Okay, it's actually a transition of technology. So you can look at Malaysia is moving out from the low technology industry to the high technology industry. So let's look at the industry perspective. When you look at the industry perspective, basically you can understand even government's initiative of bringing in the IC design village sort of to Selangor with the initiative with the SCDC Selangor. So you can see that government's focus now going towards high technology, because you cannot compete low technology items in Malaysia when Thailand, Vietnam, Indonesia is just beside us. Now it is more kind of low technology industries might be looking to exit Malaysia, but don't worry, a lot of high technology companies are coming in, and of course I need to touch this upskilling of your skills required. If not, you misplace. You know.
Are you seeing demand from existing manufacturers here and industrialists to expand their production lines?
Possible. If it is for local use, yes. If the majority for export, maybe it's quite competitive for them, because you can have lower labor costs outside Malaysia. So when we interview some of our clients, their main reason why they are going out is that because of the cheaper labor in China.
All right, Jeevan, we've got more to get into, including the relationship between BidMyAsset and the parent company, Koshi Auctioneers, a little bit of the story behind that, and also what got you into this business in the first place. So right now, I'm Roshan Ganesan, you're listening to Open for Business. We will be back in just a bit, so keep it here to BFM 89.9, the business station.
Be free-minded. BFM 89.9.
BFM 89.9, welcome back to Open for Business. I'm Roshan Ganesan, and this morning I'm speaking with Jeevan Muniandy, co-founder of BidMyAsset, a Malaysian-based auction platform for second-hand and industrial and manufacturing machinery and equipment. Jeevan, earlier you gave us a sense for what the platform does, right? And the demand and supply equation here, because at the end of the day, you need supply of the second-hand equipment in order to meet the demand for that second-hand equipment. And you're not limited by borders. You have seen deals where I think in Thailand you mentioned that you managed to facilitate a deal between a manufacturer there who was closing down to a buyer over in China. So definitely makes it a more interesting proposition. When we look at BidMyAsset, it is a associate company or the parent company is Koshi Auctioneers. Now, BidMyAsset was established in 2022. Koshi has been around since 2005. So you've been in this business a long time. What got you into this space at the start, Jeevan? Take us back to 2005.
Okay. Before I started in 2005, and I graduated from University of Putra Malaysia, UPM, in 1999. And during that period, we had this issue of surplus of supply for accountants in the market, and couldn't get a job. And because there were two batches came out at the same year, and there was what we call economic issues as well.
This is right after the crisis.
This is during the crisis, 98, 99. So you are smacked in the crisis itself. So 2002, I embarked into. I couldn't get a job. Then 2002, I joined as a real estate agent. I have no choice, and with a little bit of analytics experience that I had, I was there. Then 2004, 2005, I managed to get auctioning license in Penang, and we started from there in 2005. And first, Koshi Auctioneers was involved in property auction. So auction means property in Malaysia, and they don't see other than that. But watching a lot of P. Ramlee movies, I see P. Ramlee auctioning off a lot of things, during the movie. So when I got my license, I thought, hey, I can do everything. But the industry was more focused on property. But that did not stop me there. Then I just keep on checking, and there was actually a lot of opportunity when we compare ourselves with our counterparts outside Malaysia, which is like the already advanced level of auctioning of many items, even arts and whatnot. So that's what put me forward, and we started with BidMyAsset. And BidMyAsset basically is the domain for Koshi. So we had an issue of how people, hey, you said you are a BidMyAsset and how come the contract says Koshi? We have this issue where we need to explain. There's take another 10 minutes. So we want to cut it short. We say, look, looks like, we are going from end to end and we have BidMyAsset known in the market. Actually, looks like, there's a transition between typical auction company to a technology company because there's a lot of technology that we're actually implementing in our system. And that's how it all started. And now we have BidMyAsset, I'll say the leader in a used machinery market in terms of end-to-end solution that we are providing in Malaysia.
Have you completely left behind the real estate portion of your life now?
Okay. We have another department for real estate, which is under Koshi. And we have another brand called Bidding Guru, which is totally different, helping asset owners, property owners to auction off. So you actually auction properties. It's not just from the bank. Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about Koshi itself as a group. What other companies do you have that are working on different areas? So you've got property division or company. You've got this industrial and machinery second-hand division. Anything else you do?
Okay. We also try to help because sometimes we were approached by sellers who only have 1 or 2 machines. So we used to tell them, I'm very sorry, because the auction process itself involves a lot of manpower and costing. So sometimes 1 or 2 machines does not make sense for us to in terms of economical, not economical. Yeah. So we thought, hey, there's actually a lot of machines coming in. We don't want to let it go. So we are now working together with another company, setting up a marketplace for used machinery, BidMyAsset.com. So it is just initiated, I think, in March, and now in the process of putting in all together and making sure that we don't leave out anyone in this equation. So
as a group here, you've got multiple assets that you can use, multiple platforms. BidMyAsset is very much focused on the industrial side of the equation. Is there a larger plan here to? So in a lot of ways, Koshi is the company corporate name, but the BidMyAsset or the BidMy branding is the different products that you have. Is there a larger ambition here to completely rebrand under BidMy and consolidate things?
Not at the moment, but I don't think so. It is workable in Malaysia because people get confused easily. So we want to make sure that we have a separate. Of course, being a company, they'll have a separate entity. Then they'll merge. Then they'll separate again. But this is part of the business strategy. But then, at the moment, we don't have a plan. But we want to make it separate. All the platforms by not confusing them, But if at all they still need certain what we call solution, that particular platform will be able to solve that issue.
So looking back, when you conducted this rebrand and brought BidMyAsset to becoming the face in 2022, what were the biggest challenges that you faced then? Because I can, off the top of my head, assume that this branding issue might have been difficult given that you had 15 plus years of being known as Koshi Auctioneers. So talk to us about that, the transition and the challenges that came along with it.
Okay. Of course, they will, the customers' concern will be BidMyAsset 2022 and you are new guys. Then, of course, there's an explanation that we need to do to all of them. But they can understand because some of them, actually, BidMyAsset in B2B market, I won't say everybody knows, but they have heard. But then for sellers, we have that challenges where we need to explain, hey, we are actually not 2022 company, it's actually 2015, 2005.
There's some history.
There's a history behind it. Okay, that's why we need to associate Koshi back to BidMyAsset all the way. And that was, I would say, immediate challenges that we had when we first started in 2022. But now, I think a lot of branding activities that we are doing at the moment, a lot of exposing what we call in social media, and a lot of good assets coming to our platform. And that is actually creating a lot of awareness in terms of getting new customers.
Are you making it in your communication, your marketing materials here, as you go through this rebranding, are you making it clear that BidMyAsset is powered by or brought to you by Koshi Auctioneers? Is that part of the... Because you have some brands out there which are brand ABC in XYZ company, right? Is that something you're doing, or are you trying to focus on BidMyAsset itself?
No, at the moment we need to associate ourselves with Koshi because there's no way you can take out Koshi from BidMyAsset because the minute we have more visibility for BidMyAsset, and if I can mention BidMyAsset, and let's say when time goes by, maybe like by maybe 2029 or 2030. Maybe we can take away Koshi aside and maybe we can start branding because at the moment, how old are you? So that's an issue now. But anyway, I think with Koshi is around and we have solved that problem.
Now, with these kind of transaction businesses, my sense is that most of the time it's the business model here, or the fees generated from a percentage of that transaction. Give us a sense of, is that the only way that you generate revenue with BidMyAsset, or do you have other solutions that you provide?
No, we just, whatever solution that we provide, we come up with a percentage of sharing that we want to get from the sale.
From the sale itself.
And we don't charge any upfront costs. So that means it's based on success basis.
So it's kind of like selling a house.
Exactly.
Right? So you get a commission of that sale. Actually, a lot of parallels to selling a house, right? Big ticket item, large commissions based on that. And when we look back here, obviously you have a much longer track history. It's not just from 2022. So I'm sure the business has been generating cash flows and revenue over the longer term. Tell us a little bit about how much revenue this business generates on an annual basis.
Okay.
Especially given this is a very choppy business, right?
Yeah, exactly. So it's like it's structured. It actually comes in a structured manner. So it's like first quarter we might get 3 or 4 projects. Second quarter another 3 projects. It's not like property every month you have 100 properties for sale and whatever. So we are totally different because it's a B2B market. 2021 we have achieved 7-figure revenue. In terms of commission that we have received, and it's actually growing 5x since then. And this year, the first quarter itself, we already achieved our 2022 target, and we are going towards at least another 5x, I believe it should be.
So in quarter one of this year, you achieved your 2022 targets.
Yes.
So you did the whole year of 2022 business in 2024, showing that growth in the Q1 of 2024. When you talk about 7-figure revenue in 2021, you're talking about Koshi as a business, Koshi, or you're talking about BidMyAsset?
I'm talking about BidMyAsset alone. Yeah.
All right. Jeevan, we're going to go into a few messages. When we come back, we'll continue. We'll get into the growth story ahead.
Sure.
And what the next stage looks like for BidMyAsset. Folks, I've been speaking with Jeevan Muniandy, co-founder of BidMyAsset, a Malaysian-based auction platform for second-hand industrial and manufacturing machinery and equipment, an associate company of Koshi Auctioneers. I'm Roshan Kanasan. You're listening to Open for Business here on BFM 89.9, the business station.
Being first matters. BFM 89.9.
BFM 89.9, welcome back to Open for Business. I'm Roshan Kanasan, and this morning I'm speaking with Jeevan Muniandy, co-founder of BidMyAsset, a Malaysian-based auction platform for second-hand industrial and manufacturing equipment and machinery. Jeevan, in the last first half hour, we got into kind of the dynamics at play here, how you facilitate transactions between buyers and sellers for these kind of big ticket items, right? And this business can be very choppy because it's not the same as 100 houses being listed every month on the different platforms out there. In 2021, you did 7 figures in revenue and been growing 5x since then. I assume 5x annually since then?
Yes, annually.
And in 2024, for the first quarter, you achieved the full year 2022 target. So things are moving, things are starting to grow. But while revenue is great, let's talk a little bit about the profitability of this business and the key levers that make or break this business model.
It's the talent and also the technology involved. So now what happened is that we have moved out from a typical auction platform into a technology company. So coming back from the technology company perspective, we are now taking the role as a distribution company, as how Amazon model works like, from a typical selling as a marketplace, from being, I would say, the distribution company helping customers to move or relocate used machinery that they don't want to somebody who can appreciate the used machinery. So our business, we have these are the issues I believe will be the key points as what you're asking, Roshan.
And I presume in terms of cost factors, I mean, a bunch of capital would have been spent building the technology itself, the platform itself, and then the rest of it is marketing and talent to make sales happen, I guess, aside from operation costs as well. Is there anything else that acts as a key cost component to your business?
The traction part. We are actually spending a lot of our resources into making sure that we can get the right talent for the tracking of the whole project. Now, in fact, we are going towards ESG and sustainability, as you know. And in fact, in our proposition to our customers, we're actually telling them, look, don't worry. It's not just based on your value of your machines that we actually help you to recover. In fact, the part where you always, most of them, they are not aware is that on the sustainability or ESG rating that they can actually tap on. If they know that the machines or the assets that they have, we manage to extend the life of the assets. So basically the life cycle of that assets, what we call age or life extended, that part actually is the one that at the moment we are spending much of our resources. So
this comes back to this target of reducing 200,000 metric tons of carbon emissions by 2030. And I presume when you say this, you mean by helping your customers reduce their carbon emissions through the buying of secondhand materials and industrial equipment. Talk to us a little bit about how powerful that can be in terms of a growth factor for you going forward, because sustainability disclosures are going to be compulsory for listed companies, and everyone's kind of figuring out how to disclose this and account for these kind of things. How much of a growth factor is this for you going forward?
I think this is where the most of the growth is going to happen, and we can look at actually previous or before this, sellers been selling and no data collected. Now, data will be collected by somebody, because we are working together with the tracking company, carbon footprint tracking company, that we track each asset's extension of life. So if, let's say you're giving me 10 machines, and I can give you a report saying that, okay, out of 10 that you give me, 9 is actually working in this place with this customer. If it is allowed to, to expose the customer, we actually let them know. If not, we'll tell them, okay, this 9 is available in this place. Only 1, we have no choice. There's no one taking up. Then we need to recycle it. So this data is not available anywhere else. And even the current way of selling is that looking at the vendors or even the recyclers, they buy the assets from you and they have sold it to somebody who's actually using it. They will not reveal they've sold it as a second-hand value. Why? Because they bought it very cheap. So I don't want to reveal to you, hey Roshan, the machine I bought it from you as a scrap. Hey, I sold it second-hand value. So I'm somebody. So they won't. So this data definitely you won't get even before this or even after this if you are using that method. So tracking the data in terms of carbon footprint is the one that I believe will be the catalyst for the growth that we are looking at.
Now, aside from this particular point, this leveraging sustainability concerns and disclosure requirements going forward, you also are expanding overseas. So talk to us a little bit about other things that are going to factor into your growth in the coming years.
We basically like to look at partnering with the technology companies, not just in Malaysia, also outside. And one of the systems that we are actually looking at is actually to track the machine with a proper tracking mechanism for carbon footprint will be much more, will be focused on in the time to come. So these are the areas. So basically it's going to be more on sustainability and ESG, area of growth that we are looking at.
And that's clearly a driver for you, but are you looking at other... are you looking at setting up your own footprint in other markets? So you, like, for example, you're in Thailand already.
Yeah.
Are you looking at other countries in Southeast Asia?
The growth part, you definitely need to go out of Malaysia. There's no way. that you want to stay here and you want to help the local industries to be more competitive. So our tagline is be competitive, get second-hand machine. So you want to be competitive and you want to sell to local player. See, the industry performance, Roshan, basically. So this is what actually pushing us out and look for new frontier. If you're looking at helping local industries to be competitive by bringing in high technology machines, the low technology machines need to be transported out. And if you're in Malaysia, I don't think so you can assist these companies.
Now, given that BidMyAsset, I think you were telling me earlier that you've raised initially when you raised some angel funds to build this business, to grow it. But you've been largely, I guess, been able to use your own funds to grow so far. Do you have any plans to raise external funding in the future? And if so, why would you want to raise that money for? Is it for particular goals, milestones, expansion plans?
Okay, we got 2 angel investors, and I need to mention their name today, and because they're really behind me all the while, and I'll need to mention Tuan Sheikh Osman, my partner in crime, and also Mr. Siraj, both of them, and also not to forget Dato' Hashim as well. And they all pulled together, and they were one of our earlier investors in our company. Other than that, it was self-funded. But looking forward, yes, fundraising possible, but it's not because of the money that we are looking at. We are looking at the partner that can bring, what can you bring to the table that we want to take you in. It's not because of the money. It's what can you bring other than money.
So you're looking at strategic investors.
Strategic investors.
And it's not really for the capital, because you've already built the platform.
Yeah, exactly.
Now it's really just about expansion. So with all that in mind then, and everything we've discussed over the last 45 minutes here, Jeevan, talk to us about what the next stage looks like for BidMyAsset, right? What is the next level here?
The next level is AI. Is going to be a lot of AI, and also a lot of data mining will be happening. And we basically looking at coming up with assistance in terms of how customers can actually value their machines without going through third party. You can actually value your machines, and you know where you are standing before even thinking of selling the machine. So we want to provide a lot of solutions for the sellers and also for the buyers, and also by integrating the ESG and also the sustainability part of the carbon footprint part of it. And we're also partnering another company. A lot of strategic partnership will be happening. And one of it with the life cycle assessment and also for carbon footprint analysis, we are working out with another ESG consultant. So these are the things that we are looking at the moment. And hopefully it goes another 5x next year.
Fantastic. Wishing you all the best ahead, Jeevan.
Thank you, Roshan. Thank you very much for having me here.
Folks, I've been speaking with Jeevan Muniandy, co-founder of BidMyAsset, a Malaysian-based auction platform for second-hand industrial and manufacturing and machinery and equipment. They're an associate company of Koshi Auctioneers, which, of course, Jeevan started in 2005. If you missed any part of this conversation, you can catch the podcast on the BFM app or bfm.my. Our shows are also available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever else it is you listen to podcasts. Just look for Open for Business. I'm Roshan Kanasan. Keep it here to BFM 89.9, the business station.
You've been listening to Open for Business on BFM 89.9.
You have been listening to a podcast from BFM 89.9, the business station. For more stories of the same kind, download the BFM app.